Hello, and welcome to my session. I'm so excited to be with you today. My name is Sylvia Rogel, and I'm the Director of Strategic Partnerships and External Affairs for the Center Resources for Teaching and Learning. I'm also part of the Strategic Planning Committee for United Palatine Coalition and a member of the Professional Development Committee for Illinois Women in Cannabis. Today, I'll be discussing medical cannabis in your school. Do you know your responsibility? An overview of Illinois' Ashley's Law. This presentation is for school administrators and school nurses. Before we get started, I want to throw it out there that I am not an attorney and I do not intend to give legal advice. I am a cannabis educator, advocate, and enthusiast, and I'm creating awareness in the field of education and in my community about the medicinal uses as well as the economical potentials of the plant. The following information was obtained by my own research of the compassionate use of the Medical Cannabis Program Act, the Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act, Ashley's Law, and various books, journals, newspaper articles, and news magazines. For the purposes of this presentation, I will focus on Ashley's Law and the medicinal aspects of the plant and not at the euphoric aspects of cannabis. Despite its federal Schedule I designation as an illegal substance, many states have adopted cannabis laws decriminalizing possession, allowing its medical use, or making it legal for persons 21 or older to use it recreationally. And with the passing of cannabis laws in multiple states, the need to build awareness in schools and school districts is now an important issue of students' right to attend school while using medical cannabis-infused products for a debilitating condition. Medical cannabis can be controversial, but it doesn't have to be. Science research is leading the way to changing perspectives, and it continues to build an understanding of the many medicinal uses of the plant. Some of the definitions we'll use today include the endocannabinoid system, which is a communication system between the body and the brain. The endocannabinoid system works with cannabinoids, which are chemical compounds contained in the cannabis sativa plant. The active ingredient in the cannabis sativa plant is delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol, or THC, as it is most widely known. This is what gives you the high. Another non-active chemical compound contained in the sativa cannabis plant is CBD. Medical cannabis-infused products contain CBD oil. Another definition that you should be aware about is registered qualifying patient. A registered qualifying patient is a minor patient under 18 years of age who has been diagnosed by a certifying healthcare professional as having a debilitating medical condition and has been registered with the Illinois Department of Public Health as a qualifying patient. A registered qualifying caregiver is defined as a person or guardian or any other individual that must be registered with the Illinois Department of Public Health as a designated caregiver. A qualifying patient may have up to 3 registered qualifying caregivers. The school nurse definition under the law is an individual who holds a professional educator license, or PEL, with a school nurse endorsement, or any registered professional nurse with or without a PEL who is employed as a nurse in their current district prior to July 1st, 1976. Medical cannabis-infused products are defined as oils, ointments, foods, or other products that contain cannabinol or CBD oil. Under the law, medical cannabis-infused product cannot be smoked or vaped. This is an illustration of how the cannabinoid system works with cannabis. As I mentioned earlier, it's a communication system between the body and the brain that affects many functions of the body, including how a person feels, moves, or reacts. Medical cannabis can come in many forms and can be administered through various ways. The most common route is the oral route through edibles, gummies, and other food products. Other methods include the sublingual route, which dissolves under the tongue, the cutaneous route, which includes topical creams, transdermal route, which is a patch, and other forms such as suppositories and eye drops. Some of the debilitating conditions which medical cannabis can treat are as follows: autism, HIV/AIDS, cancer, chronic pain, Crohn's disease, and a list of other debilitating medical conditions which can be found by going to the Illinois Department of Health website and Googling medical cannabis debilitating conditions. So what is Ashley? Who is Ashley? Ashley's Law is named after Ashley Surin. Ashley was diagnosed with leukemia when she was only 2 years old. As a result of chemotherapy treatment, she developed debilitating seizures, which were treatable only through the use of cannabinol oil, a form of medical cannabis, marijuana. This course of treatment has resulted in the marked reduction of Ashley's seizure activity, allowing her to attend school alongside her peers. Her parents, pictured here, Jim and Maureen, lobbied the Illinois lawmakers to approve the legislation after successfully suing Ashley's school district, Schaumburg 54, to allow her to take medical cannabis at school. The state previously had banned medical marijuana possession at school, and thus it was not permitted. But now that the law is in place, the law allows her and other children with debilitating medical conditions to take medical cannabis at school. So what is Ashley's Law? Effective August 1st, 2018, Ashley's Law amends School Code 105, subsection 52233. And the law states that a school district, public school, charter school, or non-public school shall authorize a registered designated caregiver to administer a medical cannabis infused product on the premises of the child's school or on the child's school bus if both the student as a registered qualifying patient and the parent or guardian and other individual are registered as a designated caregiver. Upon administration, the medical cannabis infused product must be removed from the school premises or the school bus. There must also have been issued a registry identification card under the Compassionate Use of Medical Cannabis Program Act. In June of 2019, Ashley's Law was amended. The law was amended to allow school administrators and school nurses to administer medical cannabis infused products to students who are registered qualifying patients. The law states a school, public school, a school district, public school, charter school, or non-public school must allow school nurses and school administrators to administer a medical cannabis infused product to a student who is a registered qualifying patient while on school premises, while at a school-sponsored activity, before or after school normal school activities, including while the student is in before school or after school care on school operated property, or while the student is being transported on a school bus. At this time, under the law, self-administration is allowed. A school district, public school, charter school, or non-public school may authorize a student to self-administer the medical cannabis infused product if a student is a registered qualifying patient and if the self-administration is done under the direct supervision of a school nurse and a school administrator. Medical cannabis infused products that can be administered at school must be purchased from a qualifying patient or caregiver from a licensed dispensing organization. It must be in a verifiable container from a licensed dispensary. It must also be properly labeled with qualifying patient information, and it must be packaged according to the Compassionate Use of Medical Cannabis Program Act. Additionally, to administer medical cannabis at school, written authorization is required. The parent guardian, as a registered designated caregiver of a student who is a registered qualifying patient, must provide a written authorization for the use of a medical cannabis infused product, must submit a copy of the registry identification card of a student, as well as submit a copy of the registration card for the registered designated caregiver or caregivers, and it must include the times or the special circumstances under which the medical cannabis infused product must be administered. Criteria for a registry card. Minors are eligible to register under the Compassionate Medical Program Act if certain criteria are met, including a diagnosis of a debilitating medical condition, the patient must be a resident of Illinois, must submit 2 separate signed healthcare professional written certifications, one recommending, one reviewing. A medical cannabis registered patient under 18 is required to have at least one designated caregiver and may have up to 3 caregivers. The designated caregiver must be at least 21 years old. And designated caregivers of registered qualifying patients under 18 may only purchase medical cannabis infused products from an Illinois dispensary. You cannot, for example, buy products from the legacy market, from the underground market, for instance. The patient, the student, and the parent could be in trouble, and frankly, so can the school, because that would not qualify under a medical cannabis infused product. It must be purchased from an Illinois dispensary. Some of the requirements for the school are as follows. The written authorizations and a copy of the registry identification card must be kept on file in the office of the school nurse. The authorization of a student to self-administer the medical cannabis infused product is effective for the school year in which it is granted, and the authorization must be renewed each subsequent school year upon fulfillment of the requirement in subsection 5, B5 of the law. As a parent or guardian or other individual may not administer a medical cannabis infused product in a manner that, in the opinion of the school and school district, would create a disruption to the school's educational environment or would cause exposure to other products, to the product to other students. Ashley's Law does have some protections. For example, a school district or school may not discipline a student who is administered a medical cannabis infused product by a parent or guardian or other individual under the section. A school or school district may not deny a student's eligibility to attend school solely because the student requires the administration of the product. And school nurses and school administrators are not subject to arrest, prosecution, or denial of any right or privilege when complying with Ashley's Law. It is further, another provision that is included is that no school staff is required to administer medical cannabis infused product to a student. So the need to adopt a policy that has the inclusion of the self-administration is important for student accessibility. A school district, public school, charter school, or non-public school may not authorize the use of medical marijuana under the section if the school district or schools would lose federal funding, that is, as a result of having such a policy. This is due to the condition of receiving Title I grants and school nutritional programs funded by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. For example, the condition of receiving these grants, for instance, calls for this district to make a good faith effort to maintain a drug-free workplace. Arguably, this is for staff who, you still cannot come stoned into work. You can't come high into work. This could be argued that this is primarily for staff, definitely not for students, though. The requirement, however, to still maintain a drug-free workplace has to be in place, particularly if you're receiving federal funds. It is important to note that Ashley's Law only applies to students. Staff still may be subjected to discipline for possessing cannabis at school, but surely this is going to be litigated for many years to come. But school nurses and school administrators are protected and are not subject to arrest for assisting with the administration of medical cannabis to a student. Here are some things for special considerations. For instance, student confidentiality must be respected. School personnel should ensure students' confidentiality is respected by revealing only the necessary health concerns and only to those individuals whose knowledge may affect the student's health. For example, individuals who have no contact with a particular student have no need to know about the student's medical or mental health issues. Both FERPA, the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, and HIPAA, the Health Information Portability and Accountability Act, may apply. School nurses should work with their school administrators to determine the applicability. In addition, Ashley's Law states that a training curriculum must be set in place. For this purpose, the Illinois State Board of Education, in consultation with the Illinois Department of Health, have developed a training curriculum for school nurses and school administrators on the administration of medical cannabis. This training must be completed prior to the administration of medical cannabis, and it must be completed annually. Proof of training must be submitted to school administration, and school district, public schools, private school, charter schools must retain records of the training for school nurses and school administrators. So once you have this medical policy in place at your school or in your school district, and you want to verify that a patient is registered, to verify a patient, school nurses and school administrators can go to the website and input the patient registration number found on the patient registry identification card. You will either get an inactive or active status for the patient. You can go to medicalcannabispatients.illinois.gov to verify a patient registry. At the same time, if anyone is interested in applying for the medical cannabis program, or if you have a student who you think might be able to use this program, you can tell them and their families that information about the application to the Medical Cannabis Pilot Program Act can be viewed at the Illinois Department of Public Health website at dph.illinois.gov. You can Google medical cannabis minor qualifying patients to do that. But also to submit your applications, you can go to medicalcannabispatients.illinois.gov. Well, that is the overview of Ashley's Law. If you have any questions regarding this training, you can send them either to me. I have included my email at the end of this presentation, but also I am including here some places in some of the agencies, some of the governing bodies that that oversee Ashley's Law. For example, if you have any questions related to ISB, you can email your questions to schoolnurse@isb.net. And you can also Google an ISB recording of the webinar, which has frequently asked questions as well. I believe if you look at that webinar, you are eligible to get some professional development credits through the end of this school year in June 2021. Additionally, for more information on registry identification cards, you can email dph.medicalcannabis@illinois.gov. And likewise, families can address questions to the Illinois Department of Health email at the same email at dph.medicalcannabis@illinois.gov. I'm also including numerous resources. A lot of the resources that I used for this presentation here are included in this list of resources. Some of the most important ones are, a link directly to the legislation, both the Compassionate Use of Medical Cannabis Program Act, as well as Ashley's Law. But some of the links to the governing bodies, as I mentioned, the Illinois Department of Public Health website is here, as is the Illinois Department of Financial and Professional Regulation. Well, this concludes my session. Remember that medical cannabis can be administered in schools if the following information is in place: the adoption of a medical cannabis policy, copies of caregiver and student registry identification cards are obtained and verified, a written authorization from the parent or guardian must be obtained, and training has to be completed by the school nurse and school administrator each year, and you must maintain the records in a place where only the school nurse and the school administrator can access it. This concludes my medical cannabis in school session. I hope that you have gained a better understanding of the administration of medical cannabis infused products, that you know how to check the status of a patient or caregiver, and that you are now more familiar with Illinois' medical cannabis laws. Again, my name is Sylvia. Thank you for being with me today, and I've included my contact email at the bottom of this page. Thank you, and I hope to see you again.